What is up, Wizards fans? Welcome to a Believe in Wizards podcast. I'm Modderno. He's Jahadi White. We tried this a couple minutes ago on the live stream and a little technical difficulties. If you're listening to the audio version of this, you're getting it clean. But for the folks that were on the YouTube, sorry about that. Hopefully we're good to go here now. So we'll see how this one plays out a little bit better. I think we're off to a good start. But Jahadi, we were just getting into the Wizards thus far. They're 1-3. I don't think anyone's particularly pleased with their performance thus far. But what's your kind of initial thoughts so far?
Yeah. It's 1-3 is not good. A little bit apprehensive about how things are starting out. You know, it's not so much 1-3, but it's how we are 1-3 that concerns me going forward.
Yeah, exactly. The not been an inspiring defensive performance thus far. Before we get too deep into this, as always, we're brought to you by Stateside Vodka and their Surfside Hard Iced Teas, hard lemonades, hard half and halves, hard peach teas. All that stuff is equally delicious, and we're thinking we're going to need a lot of them this season, unfortunately, the way this is going. Also brought to you by BetOnline. It's the #1 source for all your betting needs, so you can get the latest odds, lines, and matchup reports for baseball, boxing, golf, UFC, tennis, and more. BetOnline continues to be the fastest and easiest way to place all your wagers, including live betting and your favorite casino and card games. Head to the website today and use our promo code BELIEVE, BLEAV, for 50% off your first deposit. So it's a welcome bonus. BetOnline, where the game starts. Okay, for anyone who did not catch the Hawks game, they lost. They beat the Wizards 130-121. It was nowhere near as close as the score indicated. The game was over sometime, honestly, before halftime, it felt like. And the Hawks probably could have run up the score if they wanted to. They kind of eased back a little bit. And the Wizards, young guys, at least played finally down the stretch and made it kind of competitive. I don't know. At least, how you've been in these situations? To me, it's at least a good sign that the young guys came out and played hard and didn't just like sort of go through the motions.
Yeah, the young guys are always hungry. It's the young guys sometimes doesn't depend on what the score is. It depends on them proving themselves, and also, they also want to show, hey, we can. Sometimes give a better outcome than the stars, right? It's all about proving. But what I've started to notice is we're getting some consistency from those young guys as well. Every time they come out, they really do. Omarui. Yeah, Omarui is just I really like his strength, his power, his speed. His relentlessness, his way of going 1 through 5. What game was that? Was that the Celtics? Was it against the Celtics where he had 14 points in 14 minutes?
Yeah, he came in late and played hard. He came in and did the same thing in this Hawks game too, where it was just instant energy. I mean, not as impressive with the 14 points in 14 minutes, but he at least kind of brought some hustle again too.
Yeah, he brings hustle. So some of the young guys that play toward the end of the game, I see a future, in the near future that we can really depend on them some more, right? It's just the cohesiveness right now with our starting lineup that's kind of worries me. And then when the second string is really don't have enough. Was just scoring potential to me to sustain, until our starters can come back.
Yep. Yeah, I'm with you. For anyone who didn't see the game, Kyle Kuzma had a team high 25 points on 11 of 21 shooting, pretty efficient, 9 rebounds, 6 assists. He kind of really was the offense for at least a lot of the first half of the game. That's 20 points for him in all 4 games this season. And he's had at least 5 rebounds in the last 3 games, which is good because they've needed help on the boards, although it hasn't really mattered a whole lot otherwise. Deni Avdija, really good last night. He scored kind of late once the game was a little out of reach, but he's still doing it against starters. So I think that was pretty solid showing from him. He's been just much better this season. I think it's more confident. Last night, 22 points, 10 of 16 shooting, which is great. 2 of 4 from 3, and the 2 that went in looked like really clean. So I think that's nice. 5 rebounds, 3 assists, 2 steals, 1 block. This is kind of the Deni I think that Wizards fans were hoping for the last 3 years. Like, the defense is still solid, but he's moving the ball. He's impacting the game a lot of ways, and he's just letting it fly. And that's what we talked about with him in the preseason is just wanting him to like confidently shoot the ball and not kind of overthink things.
Well, this is more of the Deni that we need, right?
Yeah.
We need the Deni that will let it fly, the Deni that has a higher field goal percentage from the 3-point range. Mm-hmm. What I like about Deni now is he's not getting a lot of touches, right? He's not getting a massive amount of touches.
Right.
Yeah, but the touches that he's getting, he's able to contribute with them, or he's able to actually do something because the emphasis is usually on Poole and Kuzma to where he can really make something happen. And he's good enough to make something happen. So now he's more efficient. Now he's letting it go. Now he's more confident. Now he's shooting that three that we need. That can really open things up. The more threes we have as a team, the more effective we will be. That's kind of what our offense has to be based on.
Yeah, I agree. I think Wes Unseld Jr. agrees with you too. They shot 46 of them in the Memphis game. They shot a bunch again last night. And when they go in, they're hanging in and being competitive. And you saw, I think early last night, there were a couple that they needed to make. There were wide open looks that they didn't. And that kind of helped the Hawks go on that run a little bit. Saw Landry Shamet for the first time last night, 2 of 4 from the 3-point line, had 8 total points, 2 assists, 1 rebound, 1 steal. He might be like the 3rd or 4th best player on the team, which is wild to say, just given where they are right now. You mentioned just sort of the offense overall. The Wizards are one of the most isolation-heavy teams in the league so far this season. I don't think that's a particularly conducive recipe to success for them. Like they've got to move the ball, everybody eats, that kind of thing. So I don't know. I'm not really buying into the Wes Unseld Jr. game plan a ton so far here this year. Jahadi, this is the first thing I want to ask you. When you come out flat, like flat, 3 of the first 4 games, you get run out of the gym in the first game of the season. Like, how are guys just not prepared for that? If I'm a coach, I've got guys motivated and bought in. I just wouldn't expect to just get the doors beat off of me like 3 of the first 4 games of the year.
Your top guys have to be bought in, right? Mm-hmm. Kuzma kind of understands Wes' game plan. Kuzma been around. He understands Wes understands Kuzma. But when your next guy, which is Poole, when he's new and he still doesn't understand, it seems like Poole doesn't understand what the concept is yet, or what the mission is, what they're trying to do, what the goal is. I mean, he hears it. He's in practice every day. But I don't know if Wes' plan and Poole's plan is the same plan right now. And so now with the first chain in the link, it's solid. Then as soon as you hit the second chain, it seems like it's not a mental connection with Wes and Poole yet. So now everything else that is solid further down kind of breaks down too, right? It seems like Poole right now is playing for himself and not for wins, right? He's about highlights and low lights right now too, because we're getting a lot of those. Yeah, and it's more low than high, and no matter what you do, that just kills the entire game plan, right? It kills. It takes away a lot of Kuzma opportunities, takes away a lot of everybody other opportunities for a team scheme to get open, right? It's just a lot of forcing, double team, throwing grenades. It's, basketball is a self game, but to me, the issue is Poole is young, right? It's the difference between knowledge and the difference between skill, right? If Kuzma comes to a player and talks to him, helps him out and talks to him, they're going to respect that because he's have the knowledge and he has the skill because he's a vet. Right now, Poole is more skill and less knowledge, right? And that's him being so young, that can break the team chemistry down because he he earned his place because of, when he was with the Warriors, how he played.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think he didn't earn his respect yet.
Right.
Right. Yeah. And he's playing like he earned his respect. And that's going to make him lose more respect if he has to start playing team ball.
I've kind of looked at it as like he's immediately trying to show the world in the first 4 games that he's not the player that we saw most of last year. Like, this is like, I'm going to come out of the gates and just, erase all of the Draymond Green stuff, and I'm going to be really good, and I'm going to score all these points. And it's not working out so far. It just seems like he's forcing things to me. Like the step back, jumper over Porzingis that gets blocked and stuff like that. And him trying to back down Drew Holiday was like one of the funnier things I've ever seen. It was like, it would be like me trying to back down you. Like, it's not gonna happen. He was falling down. He just looks out of sorts. And I don't know, how do you fix that? Is just, he needs to chill out and settle down? Like, how do you make sense of this?
He like you said, he's trying to prove something. He needs to be making less about him and more about the team. If he played more about if he starts playing for wins, he's going to make the right play instead of forcing every play for himself. And the right play will actually end up opening up things more for him, and he will score more throughout the game than trying to force every possession. Right now, he's forcing every possession, right? Which is now doesn't include anybody. And now he may be, field goal percentage 5 for 15. 13 points. But now if he lets the game come to him, if he opens it up, includes people, then he can play Jordan Poole's ball. We know he's hard to score. He's hard to guard. Yeah. We know he can finish at the rim. We know he can get downhill, right? And throughout the game, he will still have the points he wants.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he'll get more easy.
He will be more successful.
Yep.
Right now, we're just looking at somebody who's just forcing everything, every possession he's forcing. He's not trying to pass. He's not including anyone, and it's sloppy.
Yep. Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned the efficiency. In the first game, he had 18 points and 5 assists on 7 of 18 shooting. Didn't look particularly good. In the second game, the Memphis game, the one game they won, he had 27 points, 2 assists, 8 of 23. Again, it was sloppy, but he made a couple big baskets, and he tried to do like the right stuff late, I thought, which was good. Game 3 against the Celtics, 11 points, 2 assists, 5 of 11 shooting. That was just kind of over early enough that didn't even really matter. And then last night, 13 points, 1 assist, 5 of 13 from the field. It just, I don't know. In the chat here, I'm if I butcher the pronunciation, I apologize. Yaswe Gonzalez said he needs to show at least some effort defensively too. He is getting cooked defensively.
I agree with that 100%.
God, it's hard to watch. Like Tyus tries. He's just little and not super athletic. But the two of them together are just getting roasted defensively. And Poole, there is like almost no effort other than like 1 or 2 reach around steals every once in a while, or he'll get a deflection. You can't be a total zero. Like he's everybody shit on Brad's defense. Poole has been much worse than Brad was defensively. Like just much worse in my opinion.
Not only that, we're not playing any perimeter defense at all, right? And we're not getting back.
Yeah.
Have you noticed we don't get back at all?
Transition D is terrible. They get so many
right. So we're not getting back. We really don't have inside presence. Don't protect the rim. Yeah. And everything is a blow-by.
I have more appreciation for Gafford. We've been giving him shit. And in that Memphis game, he still kept falling down a lot, but he made some big stops on the bum ankle. Him being out the last 2 games has been like totally detrimental to them. There is no last line of defense. Playing Kuzma at the 5, I kind of get the thinking there a little bit in that Celtics matchup, but Muscala got torched defensively. Kuzma's not enough to do it. And Johnny, why do they soft switch everything? If a guy even comes up to set a pick, they switch before they even get near the guys. You can't win doing that on every single matchup. Like we were soft switching to end up with like Poole on Porzingis and stuff. And it's like, you have to offer some resistance there, at least a little, in my opinion.
Right. You cannot soft switch on Porzingis. Absolutely not. But the game is now, if you're expected to guard 1 through 5, then it doesn't matter who's guarding, right? Unless you're guarding a Jason Tatum or, a Brown, then hey, look, we need the best defender on them. But right now, I do understand the soft switch. You can't soft switch on Porzingis, but that's the way the game is going now, right? It just is.
Yeah.
But it's the emphasis. It's the emphasis on defense. It's not. We're not caring about it enough, right?
Mm-hmm.
Only person I see that's pretty much like you say playing hard on defense, taking it personal, is Deni. Kuzma's playing good defense, right? But it's not pushed throughout the culture right now of defense. And I know the coaches are teaching it. I know the coaches are pressing about it, right? Or forcing defense, talking about it. So it's not that. It's more or less just it's not resonating with the players.
Yeah. I think you can say all the right things as a coach, and sometimes guys just aren't going to listen. And it seems to be the track record of the NBA that the coach goes when that happens more so than the players. I don't.
It's all about the deflection, though. Like if I'm the coach and I'm saying everything, and it's one person,
mm-hmm.
especially if it's one of the top guys on the team that's doing his own thing, then that deflects what he's saying. Now, as me as a player, I'm more focused on this guy not doing what we're supposed to do, right? And getting his own and shaking up the entire scheme of things and the culture more than what the coaches are trying to make us do, right? So if one top guy doesn't buy in, it's just all broken down because now everybody's like, well, oh, he's doing this. Let me now becomes a self-centered, self-centered first starting five, right? And it can't work that way. Like the biggest issue to me offensively right now is we only have one facilitator.
Mm-hmm.
Other than him, it's terrible passing all around.
I thought last night was the first night we saw like a little bit of playmaker Kuzma again. He had the 6 assists and it was like trying to get other people involved other than just going downhill. But I really don't feel like we'd seen much of that from him to start the year in the first couple games. And that's something that I thought he did pretty well last year. Deni tried to get some of the second unit guys involved a little bit more, but it didn't really matter at that point. You're already down 25. It's like, okay, cool. Like this to me is a team that can't win being this isolation heavy. They're bottom 5 in defense right now in defensive rating. Like if you're a non-ball movement team that doesn't guard anyone, you just have no chance of being even respectable. And there's a quote I've got here somewhere from Wes Unseld Jr. that said, "It's been a priority for us to clean up our paint defense. Part of it is roster construction. When you lose a 7-footer, you don't have much rim protection back there. We got to do a better job of not letting them get to the rim." If that was a priority for you and roster construction was a thought, why did we go into the season with just Daniel Gafford and Mike Muscala as the only 2 centers on the roster? Like, is that really a priority? It doesn't seem like it to me.
Center position is hard to find,
Yeah.
I don't think they went in the season not trying to have somebody better in that position.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I can't imagine that. But
you think they just had something in the works and it didn't.
If you look around, it's tough to find. Then you got to make the right choices, right? I mean, I think they passing up a lot of options. A lot of good options, not great options, but good options just for protection. To look for more. It was a lot to me. I look at other teams getting guys like Jordan Hayes. What's the Lakers guy?
Jackson Hayes.
Jackson Hayes, right?
Yeah.
Which most guys are like, we pass him up. That's the very effective guy to protect the basket.
He would have been good fit on this team.
Yeah, see, but to me, it seemed like that's not, what he may not give us this. It may not. We're looking to get one thing and somebody who can run the floor, right? I did like with Muscala how he did open the floor up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
he can bring the center out, which now I felt like we got more scoring opportunities that way. Yeah. Right. But then
other Kuzma get downhill more too, I think.
Yeah, you stretch the floor as well. Like so, but you have to going forward, we have to look for specifics. We can't have everything. The guy has one thing that we definitely need. If we have paint protection and rebounding, we got to get that. You got to get paint protection, rebounding, blocking shots, not getting physically abused in the paint either. I seen Gaffer get bumped and just go out the way, and once he falls out the way, they go right to the rim. So we have to get that right. So we just need more individual presence in the paint, guaranteed. And we need stronger players. We need stronger players. Guys who are willing to just be physical. Guys who's willing to take blows. Guys who are willing to draw fouls.
I'm sorry, Johnny. It's been this kind of day, man. Sorry, everybody. I've mentioned this before. We have Xfinity in our building, and that's all we can get. And they've literally just cut the internet line like 3 times in the last 2 weeks. So thanks for bearing with us. Sorry for the technical difficulties there. That is totally and utterly my fault for having shitty internet. Just sticking with the young big man idea here for a minute. A couple different people have thrown out the idea in the last week or so of trying to go get a young big man. And like a James Wiseman is not playing right now for Detroit. He didn't look particularly good in Golden State. Is that somebody you would try kicking the tires on, Jahadi? Like, he's young. Maybe he's got something left if you give him a little run. I mean, it can't hurt, right?
You got to kick the tires. We have no choice but to kick the tires. We have no choice but to try to see what else we can get, right? It wouldn't hurt to get a James Wiseman, right? I mean, he can run the floor. He can protect the rim. He can score. He can stretch the floor, right? That'd be a great look. That'd be a great look for us because now you also adding scoring. Then you have to respect him. So you need a big man that you can respect on the offensive end too, right? And that pretty much opens up. And then with us, James Wiseman, I feel like would have more scoring opportunities because he can play more freely.
Yeah, I mean, I think it would give you some more defensive-minded people too. Like Wiseman's not been great defensively, but he is an athletic, mobile big who could protect the rim a little bit. Theoretically, he could grow into somebody to help you. I think you just have to take more of an emphasis on guys that are going to at least try to play defense. Everybody's shitting on Johnny Davis. He's looked like a dumpster fire offensively, airball in the floater, can't make shots. He looks scared to shoot it. He has competed defensively. I thought them having him match up with DeAndre Hunter and him just like shooting turnarounds over Davis, I don't think it's necessarily Davis's fault. That's a tough matchup. But for the whole rest of that late third quarter, fourth quarter run, he competed. He tried to defend, had a couple like drop down passes to people that were good, set some screens. So at least he's competing. Amarui is going to compete defensively. He's just not going to be a big time rim protector for you. But when they were at their best last night, it was Deni and the kids. You know, I mean, Deni's still a kid himself, but you know the newer kids, and I would embrace that. Like the guys all at least competed. If Poole's not going to compete, take him out. If Tyus isn't going to guard anybody, take him out. I thought Corey Kispert was great in the Memphis game offensively. I thought he was shit last night defensively. Take him out. Like, just this is your opportunity to kind of set the precedent for what you will and won't tolerate as an organization moving forward. And if someone isn't buying in or isn't doing the things that's asked of them, Send the message now that that shit is no longer acceptable in Washington. If you come here, you will do what we want, and it'll be guys at least making some effort. I mean, that's all I want to see is like effort, consistent effort. It shouldn't be too much to ask, I don't think.
No, it's not. But that's what we have resorted to right now. We have resorted to at least he competed.
Yeah, right. That's a really low bar.
That's what we have dropped to the bar. At least he competed, like, right? But that's because that's the options. That's the only option we have to resort to. At least he competed, right? It's like the organization said, you know, you're gonna have to work this. It's gonna be a process. We're gonna build this team, and which means they're not satisfied with what they have right now. And as we see that, we're not also as satisfied either, because like you said, well, at least we competed. Like we're starting to realize what we're getting out of this team, right? Which is understandable, but which is also not good for the people who you want to grow with,
right? Because
what happens is winning stops becoming the concept. In the NBA, with players, if winning stops becoming the concept, it is a shit show. It's a shit show as they're scoring. Now, what I do like about Kuzma is he's professional enough to still involve people. He's a professional player enough to still put winning or trying to be effective with everything. If he understands that he stops, he's looking for the open guy right away.
Yeah.
With Poole, if he understands that he stops, now he's trying to figure out 3 or 4 different ways to still get to the basket. You're stopped.
Right.
Give up the ball quickly so he can make something happen. By the time Poole is giving up the ball, you can't do anything with it. So that's, to me right now, is killing the momentum.
Yeah, I agree.
Right. And so I just think it comes to the understanding, Poole, you're killing the momentum. You're young still. Very young. You're still, right? So you're a great player. You're skilled. You're hard to guard. But you have to learn how to play with your teammates, play under this team concept. Green light doesn't mean I'm being out of control.
Right. I'm hopeful that this is still just a product of like adapting to a new role. When you're like the microwave bench scorer, your job isn't to run like a smooth, coherent offense for everybody. It's come in and cook, and then you come back out for a few minutes. So you got to get them up while you're in there. And that's just not going to fly when you're expected to be like 1A or 1B, with an offensive system. And
right.
Maybe he'll adapt to that. If he doesn't, he shouldn't be here long. I mean, it's really that simple. I'm not saying move him out right now. I'm saying give him some time, reinforce the things you want to see. And if we're at the trade deadline and the dude is still just like heaving shit every time he touches it at the detriment of everybody else, like you're going to keep seeing games like we saw last night where they're down 25 because of that kind of stuff.
Right. But he's still impressionable to me. So it comes down to the right people who holding him accountable. Right. It comes down to a hard-nosed coach to be like, we're not doing that shit. It's not happening.
Do we have a hard-nosed coach to do that though? Is this the guy to do that?
Right now, the problem is this. Well, when you're in a situation that like Wes is in right now, who is going to help you keep your job or guarantee you to lose it? Right. So when I'm dependent on a guy like Poole for me to stay here, then it's a tough dynamic. Yeah. Now, if I'm a guy that's not dependent on you for me to stay here right now, where I can enforce some things, then I can change. I can either force you to play the way I'm playing, or you're just not going to really be a part of things. Right. So the problem is Wes that does it. I don't know, because he's not in a position right now. He's in a tough position.
Right. Yeah. You got the extension, so you wouldn't be a lame duck coach, but at the end of the day, they could still very easily move on from you. So
right.
Still
so
sort
you
of
got
a lame duck coach. Like,
right.
It's
you got to be in a situation where I don't need you to
Right.
to make me a good coach, right?
Yeah, Steve
Right.
Kerr can throw your ass on the bench because he can go to all those other people, and he's got the
Exactly.
cachet to do it.
Mike Brown could be like, can cuss you out and throw you on the bench, right? And then put somebody in there, and that person will play for him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's what we need to see. I think in lieu of that, your teammates need to hold you accountable. I don't know who that is. You've got a lot of younger guys. Can a 22-year-old Deni do that? Like it really, to me, of the guys, it's got to be Tyus and it's got to be Kuzma. Of the other starters that are like, hey man, like what are you doing out here? And I don't know. It's just it's a tough one. Like I think this is going to be kind of the enduring question of the first at least quarter of this Wizard season is just like, what is Jordan Poole and how does he mesh with everybody else? At some point, maybe you move him to the bench role and let him go back to just doing what he's comfortable doing. I mean, I don't know who you start
Kuzma's
instead.
gonna have to get frustrated.
Yeah.
Kuzma's gonna have to speak up and be the frustrated one, speak up for the team. Because once he opens his mouth, everybody else gonna follow suit.
Yeah, sure.
And you can't tell me he likes the way the two-man game is going between.
Yeah.
I seen him wide open, begging for the ball, and Poole had 3 guys on him.
Yeah, and it really hasn't been a two-man game at all. It
hasn't been a two-man game. They're not working well together like I expected them to.
Yeah. And I think Kuzma has been working pretty well with everyone else, especially last night. I thought he was good at moving the ball. And I think he's at least comfortable with some of these guys that, like, if I give it to them, but I'm open, I'm going to get it back. And I've always thought, like, the Kuzma-Deni dynamic was good. Actually, like the Kuzma-Rui-Deni trio. So that was kind of a bummer. I would have liked to see that more this year, too. But, just focus more on that then. Or can you get Kuzma and Corey going a little bit and like run a little two-man something there? I don't know. Maybe Corey doesn't.
Well, it's going to be tough because Kuzma will really pretty much have to dribble the ball up the court line. So right now the ball is in Poole's hands and he's ball dominant because he's bringing it up, or he's a second pass, right? Mm-hmm. He's a second outlet. So, but when Kuzma does have the ball in his hand, he does penetrating pitching this really well, right? Yeah. He has more court focus, right? He can see more, right? Mm-hmm. Him facilitating isn't always the second option.
Yeah, right.
So that's what I'm saying is he understands the game much more. He's a veteran with a lot of knowledge, understands how the feel of the game, how it works. He understands, okay, if I do certain things, I can get more for myself, right? Kuzma is not a forcing type of player. He's a very effective player.
Yeah, he definitely has a few tunnel vision-y moments, but I'm with you. Like as at the root of what he is as a player, he's like, he's a big dude that can do a lot of different things. And I think we saw stretches last year where it got a little weird with him. But I think this is back to the guy like he wants to be for this team.
But his tunnel vision-y moments, I know what's about last year, but even this year they're not out of control.
No, I agree. I totally.
They're not out of control to the point to where he can be a Shaq and a fool, right? He still has
the one where he tried to throw himself the oop off the backboard and did the 360. That was a little tough, but other than that, I'm totally with you. You always got to have one. There's just got to be one.
Man. Come on, you being too hard on him now. You find the needle in the haystack.
No, that one will definitely be on Shaq and the Fool though.
Oh, it definitely will.
Yeah, but
he's not that type of player.
I agree.
He's just not that type of player.
Yeah, I'm completely with you here. I think this isn't like all doom and gloom. I think a lot of people were pretty dejected about last night's game. There's been enough bright spots that I'm like, all right, it's a rebuild. We're supposed to be shitty. We're shitty. Like we can't really be too surprised by this. It's just the way they built this team was never going to be overly competitive, and they've been worse so far than I expected. I think they've been less competitive for stretches in this game than we all expected. I thought that's the one thing that this group would do is really compete. So there's something missing there. I think I'm not trying to dump the whole season on Jordan Poole so far, but I think you nailed it of like, there's guys that he's clearly thrown the rhythm off with everybody else. And I don't really know how you
They
fix
don't
that.
have to be this shitty. You can look at this team and say, no, they don't have to be this shitty, right?
Right.
Right. They don't have to be this, give the effort on defense they're giving. They don't, the offense don't have to be this stagnant, right? Because we're seeing the other pieces when they're involved in we're seeing some little highlights and little glimpses of hope with the other pieces when they do have the ball in their hand.
Yeah.
Right. But it's just so dominant one direction that's tilting to the bad, tilting to the bad area that just, you're like, man, it's too obvious. That's the problem. It's too obvious.
Yeah, I'm with you. Kuzma had a quote after the Celtics game. He said, I think it's a good learning lesson for us. I think we may lose a ton of games this year, but it can't be like that. For us, we need to find our competitive spirit within all of this. After the Pacers game, Wes Unseld Jr., after the Memphis game, when they kind of rebounded, I guess, a little bit, Wes came out and said, I think guys were pissed off by the Pacers game, and I think that's great. They should be. And now that we're seeing Memphis might be the other worst team in the league so far, that win looks a little less impressive, but they're all saying we can't come out flat. Okay, well then don't. You control that at the end of the day. So I think that's really all Wizards fans are looking for this year. Is just we get what Kuzma said. You're gonna lose games. We just don't want to see you lose games where it's over in the middle of the first quarter.
We want to see you compete. Let the young guys show some stuff. Develop a little. Be great. Yeah, absolutely. Right now, it seems like the competitive nature. No way this competitive nature should be already going after 4 games. Right. If the fire has already died down that fast, then it's going to be a long, long, tough season, and it's going to be a awful, just not awful as far as watching. Well, bad too, but just as a player, from a player's perspective, that's not a season you're looking forward to. That's dreadful to have to go through a season like that as a player.
Yeah.
Right. And what's going to happen is if it continues like that, it's going to be a dreadful, dreadful season from a player perspective to the point that you're going to see all type of crazy stuff from the players. It's just become me all the way down the line.
Collected and Connected asked, how does a veteran stay motivated and approach a season after inking a long-term deal on a team that isn't expected to win and doesn't seem to have a desire to win? And then there was just kind of a second part of just, does a veteran feel it's part of their job description to mentor the Bilal Coulibaly's and Johnny Davises of the world when part of a rebuild? Or are you trying to show out for yourself and hope that you get traded midseason? I guess it depends on the person, right?
It depends on the person and depends on the profession.
Yeah.
Right. And it depends on what the game means to you. If the game means something to you, you're going to respect it back. And that means you're going to respect the way you play. You're going to respect your teammates. You're going to respect passing the game along. Right. You're going to respect holding players accountable. You're going to respect professionalism as far as, yourself, and hold the other players accountable in their professionalism, right? So to me, I see a Deni that way. I see a Kuzma that way, right?
Yeah, I do too.
I'm not sure about Tyus yet, but I don't see him as, I see Tyus that way. Just the reason I'm saying that is because he's a point guard, right?
Yeah.
A point guard they have to look at the game that way in the totality all the time to even be a good point guard.
Sure.
Right.
That's fair.
So now everybody else is pretty young. Everybody else is pretty young. So now it's about passing that along, but you got to find out, so you don't have those personalities. Just let it go and let it just dissipate and go crazy. But like you said, I hate all the fingers that go get pointed right back to Jordan Poole. But that's the common denominator right now.
Yeah, he's going to set the tone. I mean,
yeah, he's going to set the tone either way. Like, you got to buy in. He has to buy in. But it's going to be up to them to make him buy in. And I know there'll be a point in the season to where people going to have enough.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, like, it's not that he can't grow.
Like a team with a lot of fiery personalities. But even then, people are going to have enough.
Yeah. Yeah, I think these guys will be accepting of him to a point, right? Like, we'll give you some chances to figure it out. And I think a lot of the core guys here that are playing so far are guys that have been here and know each other and are comfortable, and then someone like Tyus, he's just kind of an easy to fit in wherever you put him kind of guy. Poole is really the square peg round hole situation right now. And he's either going to get, like whittled down enough to fit into the hole or they're going to kick him out. And I don't know what that looks like at that point. Because if he looks like this way the whole year, he'd be really tough to trade for a couple of years. And what do you do with him for the next 3 seasons if people see this player and they don't want to spend $30 million to go get that player?
I feel like he can fit in, just not a second option.
Yeah.
Definitely as a starter, but it has to be another superstar that's just as ball dominant, right? To where now, when he does get touches, just like at Golden State, right? When he does get touches, he can be effective with them because now we got to focus on another. So the problem is, to me, is he touching the ball too much, right? The primary points in the game, he gets to make all the decisions. He's not.
It's not there yet.
He's not there yet. Yeah. Right. He's just not there yet. He hasn't grown into that solid IQ guy yet to where he can create the pace, create sound decisions, make good micro decisions, right? Know when to attack, know when to take the time and let's figure out something. Know what's going on. Let's know when the defense just shifted. Knowing if to get one guy out so you open up the lane. He's not directing anything, right? So that's the issue. That's the big issue, right? We have a great skilled player who can score in the position that right now is kind of a one-trick pony.
We've seen all the highlights of him with like fancy in and out dribbles and putting people on their ass. And so far, all I've seen is like the same left to right cross that gets him nowhere. And he's created like almost no advantage. And that's really surprising to me. I don't know if it was like, hey, in Golden State, there are so many other weapons. You can't help or double off of him. But now he's not breaking down the defense at all. And
he hoisted.
Yeah, right. So if he's not, it never makes no sense. Ask in the chat, can Poole play off ball? I think they need him to, because he's not getting himself anywhere productive, with the ball. So run him around a shit ton of screens, like do something. I mean, in that Memphis game again, the Memphis win looks less impressive, but at least early, I thought they ran like really good offense, like a bunch of stagger screens and stuff like that, and it was just more cohesive. They just didn't make a lot of shots early. And then once they did, they started getting rolling. But we haven't seen those things seemingly created for Poole. Or maybe he's just breaking the play and doing crazy shit. I don't know. But get him a few easy looks early, get some rhythm, and then maybe he'll settle in more. I don't know.
Yeah. It has to be something. He's the dominant player. That's most of the plays that's created on the team, just in general, will be for Poole or Kuzma.
Yeah, just
obviously, right? Now, when I'm watching it, it doesn't look like anything is created for him because I feel like he's just as soon as he touched the ball, he's just breaking the play.
There was a point last night in the game where they had kind of a breakaway. And it was Poole and Kuzma in the run out, and Poole threw it off the backboard to Kuzma for the dunk, even though they were down 20 points. And Twitter has not loved that particular play a lot for anyone who Didn't catch that portion of the game. And Desan, again, I'm probably butchering everybody's pronunciation in the chat here. Sorry about that. Said thoughts on Poole supposedly being benched last night after that alley-oop attempt. And he said, I've heard it multiple times now, but if true, how do you feel? I think that was hey, the game is over at this point. Let's play the young guys. Wes has seemingly been throwing in the towel pretty early in these games. And I don't even know if it's really throwing in the towel. It's just like, all right, let's move on to the young dudes and see if we can get some fresh legs. They did that early in the Celtics game where they pulled a bunch of starters. So I don't take it as that, but honestly, I would take a guy aside if he threw an alley-oop down 20 and at least for a minute and make a point of it, or that's a teaching moment of like, nah, we're not doing that shit here. I don't know.
Well, that's a reflection. That's a reflection. When that happens, it's less a reflection on it's definitely a reflection on the guy who threw the hoop.
Yeah.
But it's more a reflection on the coaching staff. Right. That this guy is able to throw the hoop, right? And then run down the court like he just did something amazing with his hands out. Like,
and then they got cooked on defense right after.
Then they got cooked on defense right after, right? So as a coach, that looks worse on me than it does the players who actually did play. Yeah, so that's why you take them out, because now, like, you're embarrassing me.
Yeah, everyone will say, "What is that coach letting these dudes do down in Washington?"
Exactly. So that's more of the reason why, like, we got to get this out, and also let you know he's not even taking this game seriously. This is not about winning. This is about performing.
If you do that little, I forget what they're called, like the word cloud kind of thing, and you did wizards and most commonly used word to describe them on Twitter right now, and Poole, it would be unserious. Like that's the word everyone has used for Poole, and it's like
right now. That's the problem. Man, that's the perfect word. Yeah. That bothers you. That bothers me as a fan. It bothers me when I'm watching. It's just like it's just playtime for him. Yeah. It's a big boys game, man. This is real, and he's out here just saying, hey, I got my money. I got my money. Let me just do what I want to do. Mm-hmm. He doesn't. I don't think he understands how that looks and how that's portrayed.
Yeah, I agree. Hopefully he learns soon, because I don't know. That's what we keep going back to. Let's keep moving from Poole, because it's just gonna drive me nuts and drive everybody else.
Yeah, I know, man. I know. It's tough though. It's tough.
DMV for life asks, is it too early to give up on Johnny Davis? I've tried with him, but he fails me every time. Also, why was Wes playing him at the 4 last night? His defense wasn't even good. So that's the thing. This is what I said earlier. I thought the defense was good, except when they were asking him to guard like DeAndre Hunter and people 4 or 5 inches taller than him. Like, he'll compete defensively, but you've got Omarui out there who's undersized. You've got Davis, if you're going to play him at the 3 or 4, that's definitely undersized. He should be guarding another team's point guard, and that's where I think he's looked his best as an NBA player in obviously limited usage. But it's just, I know everybody thinks I'm like the world's biggest Deni hater. All I have literally consistently said is to maximize him as a defensive player, he has to shoot the ball well enough to do other things on offense, or he's hard to justify keeping out there. Now we're seeing the shooting. It unlocks all this other stuff with his game. The same kind of thing is going to be true for Johnny Davis. Like, if he can't give you anything offensively, he's not going to be a good enough defender to really justify keeping him out there. So he has to do something for you. And so far, he looks scared shitless every time they pass him the ball. And that's the last thing you want to see from an NBA player, I think, is just like zero confidence whatsoever.
Yeah. And to me, it's all about confidence with Johnny Davis.
Yeah.
It's completely about confidence. I haven't lost faith in him. Mm-hmm. I haven't lost faith in him, but like you say, he got to get it up. You got to get it up, and he has to play the right position. Sometimes, like you said, you can't scare everything. I think they have him in the wrong position, guarding the wrong position defensively. Yeah. Right? I've seen good games with Johnny Davis. I've seen good points to where I say, okay, he's competing. He can be useful for us. It's basketball is 90% confidence, right? And that's all it is with him. That's all it is. Because I've seen what he can do in many times in good points of the game. So I don't question what he can do. I don't question what he can bring, right? I'm questioning why he isn't doing it. And that's different than saying, can he do it?
Yeah, I agree. There are some guys that are really good college players and their game doesn't translate to the NBA for a multitude of reasons. The reason we saw Johnny Davis put up 20 points as a sophomore in the Big Ten and carry a team offensively. It's not that he's not translating because he can't do some of those same things. He wasn't super efficient then either, but he's just looks like, shell shocked still or something. And I thought that would be the biggest difference this year was we'd see the summer league confidence carry over, the training camp confidence carry over. And so far,
so many elements that goes on in the game in the locker room with different players. You got to ask yourself, why is he shell shocked, and why, and what happened was an impact strong enough to make him shell shocked, right? Mm-hmm. So, you just can't be. You got to be able to be confident through all that. But that's easier said than done because we've seen a lot of players that and sometimes it's not even what's going on in the locker room. It's what's going on between those, between your ears. Mm-hmm. So he just have to let all of that go and play confident, right? It's confidence confidence makes you not question what you're doing. Yeah, it makes you trust everything you're doing. As long as you trust everything you're doing, you are.
Yeah. If you're playing basketball your whole life, just go play basketball. If it doesn't work out, who gives a shit? There should be literally no consequences.
Go out there and play and know you the shit.
Yeah. Right.
You got to.
Yeah, I'm totally with you there. We had 2 fan questions. Drive, kick, repeat. Justin asked, what should practices look like in a rebuild? I want to hold that one for just a second here. But the second part of his question is, who has an edge on this team of the young guys? Like, who could be this year's Jordan Goodwin? And sort of answering another question at the same time, I think Sam Hershey asked, thoughts on Ryan Rollins so far and what will it take for him to get into the regular guard rotation? He looked solid again against the Hawks last night. I think that's a dude that's got some swagger to him. Like, I could see him doing the Sam Cassell, grab his balls as he runs down the court kind of thing. Like, he's got that kind of swag. And I think he could be that kind of guy. I also think he has the physical tools to be a pest, defensively. So could he be this year's Goodwin? That's my nominee, at least.
Yeah, absolutely. I think at this point we got to exercise other options. We have to start testing out more options. So the problem is with guys that they're asked about, we don't see enough of them. But when we do see, we don't see enough of them to see how can they sustain, right? How can they handle some good minutes, some quality minutes, right? Yeah. But I do like him. I think they really need to start exercising him in the rotation much more. Test him out. Yeah. We know we are. Start testing these guys out, right? And then I like Amarui.
Yeah, that's the number one. Has to be the no-brainer answer.
But why is he only getting in the game toward the end of the game?
Yeah.
Right now, I'm saying, okay, let me figure out if this guy can help us out in certain positions, right? Mm-hmm. I understand why they're not, but you don't have it. You might as well. It's the decision will either make you or break you, but it might make you.
Yeah, you may have found something here, right? He might only be a two-way guy right now, but he could also be more than that. Yeah, I'm with you. Let's see. Cup of Java asked, what rules did the NBA institute that caused, quote, back to the basket type centers to become unfavorable? I don't know that it's necessarily just the rule changes. Obviously, how much pushback you can put on a guy posting up and things like that, but it's the spacing a lot too. It's just really hard to do a lot of that when you're covering that much floor and rotate and things like that too. So I think it's more about those guys on the defensive end a lot of times than it is.
It's the elbow to the. They took away the elbow to the back of the hand when then you can't right.
No longer forearm.
Turns to the side. You got to take things down. The 3 second in the offensive 3 seconds. It's so many things that they added purposely to take it away to where it just wasn't. The entire point was to take away back to the basket, right? Yeah. So it was the elbow to the back, and if they turn their body and your elbow if they turn their body sideways, your elbow's still there, then that's a foul on you, right? It was 3 offensive 3 seconds in the lane. There's another one that pretty much handicapped all the players who were trained to play that way all the way through. You just pretty much they become obsolete.
Jahadi, when you played, could you put 2 hands on someone to defend them? I know you can't now. I can't remember when that changed.
You could at first. You could have an elbow and a hand.
Yeah.
Open hand and elbow. Then they took that away.
Got it. Yeah.
Well, it was a forearm. Forearm and then open hand. Yep.
Okay. And part of his question here is just like, how could they bring that back again? I think changing some of the defensive rules here, like the size of the lane makes some of that tough. Like it's hard to post a guy up when you've got the huge lane and you've only got 3 seconds to do it.
You can't bring it back until you start calling less calls again.
Yeah,
because now the refs are so trained to call everything. Everything that if you bring that back, everything would be a call. Because it just be too. It's too physical, right? So you would have to retrain the refs to be able to actually let most of those things go on, right? And to kind of bring back the physicality of the game. Right now, it's hard to watch sometimes an NBA game because of all the calls we're getting. I mean, just so many calls. It's so many calls everywhere. It's ridiculous. I mean, you can't even get a full momentum in the game. It's hard for the players now to get momentum. Yeah. But yeah, you can't until they refrain from a lot of calls they're making now. You can't even add those rules back into the game. But they need to, because it's a lot of big centers out there that would be top NBA players that's playing overseas, because now they have to bypass the NBA completely. Because of the way it is.
Yeah. I mean, we saw with the World Cup games this summer, like inside out play still works and it actually spaces the floor for you more. It's just those rules are a little more conducive for it. I think for Cup of Java, if you go back and listen to our episode with Atan Thomas from the end of
What was the episode? What did Atan say in that episode? Yeah, because I can't remember what Atan said. He vaguely remember, but he was talking about the big man, the game.
Sorry, more technical difficulties on my end, everybody. This has been one of those episodes. So appreciate it.
What was that Atan said in the Cup of Java with that episode?
The Atan Thomas episode, I thought we talked a good amount about, how post play can still have a place in the game and how effective inside out play can be. And we talked a little bit about it with Chris Whitney. Also, I asked him like how playing with someone like you opened up the floor for him a little bit. So I think there's definitely some ways you could make that more relevant in the NBA game again today and be more fun to see. It's honestly why I like watching college basketball more than just like a random NBA game. Is sometimes you just see more diverse styles of play, and I think that's kind of fun.
Well, college basketball is more the old school. To me, college basketball is more the old school with touches of the new game, which I like better, right? Because there's a lot of new style players who have to play traditional basketball, and it's very exciting that way.
Yep, I think so too. And everyone's like, "Oh, it's worse players, worse basketball." They'll compete a lot harder most of the time too. So, John, I got a couple of random ones for you before we get out of here. Collecting and Connecting asked, what was your favorite DC restaurant while you were here? Or anywhere you'd like to come back to when you come back?
Favorite DC restaurant? Wow question. It was so many, but I think I got to say
Jahadi
Angelo. It was called Angelo and Maxie's. It's gone.
Okay, that was the go-to.
What'd you say?
That was your go-to.
Well, Angelo, because that's where we all went to after the game. Everybody went to Angelo and Maxie, so that was automatically that. Or I think was called Savor or Sequoia, something like that.
Oh yeah. I don't go to that many DC restaurants. I'm probably the wrong one to weigh in here, too, to be honest with you. Any of the Jose Andres restaurants are good.
I like
Is Zaytinya near the
yeah, well, and then Rosa Mexicana was always good too.
Yeah,
right there on the corner. Rosa Mexicana was very good.
That was
now you got me thinking about all the good restaurants that were there.
Yeah, Succotash by Edward Lee. He was on Top Chef. Pretty solid. It's kind of near the stadium. So that's always a good option here too.
Right.
Okay, another one we got. I think this one, was from Sean. If you could use one utensil between a spoon or a fork for the rest of your life, you only get one. Which one are you going with?
Fork.
Yeah, I'm team fork also.
Right. Just because if I get in danger, I can use that fork. Can't stab with a spoon.
That's right. That's a very good call. It's nice just to have the self-protection option if you got it.
Right.
Let's see. There was one more we got. Oh, also from Cup of Java. Best and worst car of any NBA player you rode with. Anybody have like a real piece of shit car that you were surprised by of any of your former teammates?
Calvin Chaney and Tyrone Nesby. Calvin Chaney would not spend any money, so he had the little small Chevy Blazer, like the little one.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Like almost like a Ford Escort.
Yeah, there you go.
Tyrone Nesby had the country cars. He had a Harley Davidson pickup truck, and it was just country. Yeah. That's awful. Yeah.
Anybody have any particular good ones? Any favorite cars you had yourself in the NBA? Anybody riding around any Bentleys or anything cool back then?
Sure, you didn't see many Bentleys with the Wizards back then. My first time ever seeing an Aston Martin when Jordan played on the team, and I was like, "What's that?" And I never heard of it, never seen it, and it was so that's my introduction to an Aston Martin. Then the next day it was another different color. I'm like, "Oh, I'm just getting introduced to all the type of Aston Martins, the Vanquish, the DB9, so like I'm whatever, I'm not still a person who know a lot about them, right? But that was the first time being really introduced to that car.
That's pretty cool. Yeah, I've definitely seen the players drive. A couple of them drive around town. It's some pretty nice stuff now. I bet the money's gone up a little bit since
too. Back in that day, it was just a Mercedes with a box in the back.
Yeah, there you go. All right. Before my internet craps out here again, let's call this one. Jahadi, any parting shots or thoughts or comments you want to get off your chest that we haven't hit on about the game so far?
We just kind of got things to go and keep riding with our guys.
Yeah. Next game is Friday night at 8 p.m. against the Heat. I mean, maybe that's the last thing to ask you. A lot of guys talk about how tough it is to spend the night in Miami the night before, then come out and play the next game. Is that should we expect the Miami road trip fatigue here, I guess?
It's tough. It's tough in Miami because you gotta deal with the city of Miami. Then you have to deal with just a team that's with a Pat Riley's mentality. Physical. It just sounds like LA. It's like going out in LA and then have to play against Shaq. Right? It's two things that just going against you. So if I'm a coach, I'm gonna try to get the guys in a day early in Miami, get it out the way, and now the next day recover and let's be ready to go.
Yeah. Hopefully, guys are professional enough that they don't take advantage of 2 days out in a row down there.
Well, yeah, hopefully, but hey, it's traveling. It's the NBA lifestyle. So hey.
Yep. You can only do what you can do. All right, everybody. That's been Believe in Wizards. Thanks for sticking with us. Sorry for the technical difficulties on my end. I'm going to write a mean letter or email to Comcast and see if that helps. But rate, review, subscribe, all good stuff. Hit the little like button for us, and we will check y'all next time. And we're presented by betonline.ag.
Peace.